The volleyball team earned the number 6 seed in the NCAA tournament. Will host the first and second round action this week at the Fieldhouse. Iowa State and Miami will square off on Thursday at 5 p.m. with the Badgers then playing Oregon at 7:30 p.m. First round winners will then play on Friday at 7 p.m. Head coach Kelly Sheffield is here. We'll have some opening comments and take questions.
We'll skip through a bunch of the coaches' cliches right now. We're excited about playing. We're excited about hosting. We're hoping that we could pack the field house this weekend, and should be some great volleyball.
Last night, when you looked at the bracket, you thought it was unusual, as you've had several hours to look at the way things lined up. Does it seem any more than unusual with Oregon and as your first round matchup versus what other seeded teams are facing?
Yeah, it looks different, certainly. You know, it's I would say on paper, it's probably has the potential of being one of the best, most competitive first round matches for a seeded team in a long time, and we're excited that the NCAA chose us to be a part of that. So Oregon is a really talented team, very well coached, you know, I'm sure that they're probably looking at the bracket saying, all right, there's two teams that finished behind us in the pack that drew unseeded teams. I'm sure that that's probably a little bit unusual for them as well. You know, but it's challenging. It's tough. I do know this, that there's not a lot of, you know, people that go around and they whine about their situation. Those are typically not people that are very successful in what they're doing. And so, you know, you've been around our program a lot. We talk about having a mindset of bring it, and that's kind of where our kids are at right now. They recognize that it's a different type of first round matchup than what you'd probably anticipate, but I think right away it was, all right, bring it.
Kelly, could you maybe contrast where this team is in terms of preparation, in terms of readiness, compared to your first 2 years here? Are you at the same spot? Are you ahead of the game? How do you feel about the psychological point at which your team stands?
Not sure I could really give a comparison. I know where we're at right now, and it's been a heck of a ride, heck of a long journey to kind of get here. You know, is that our team is they're really confident right now. I like how we're playing. I really like how we're playing. I like the mindset. I like how we seem to be embracing challenges right now. Where earlier in the year, we kind of, I don't know, we kind of fretted about it a little bit. You know, it almost seemed like we had players that preferred things being a little bit easier. They enjoyed the blowouts or playing somebody that might not been quite as talented as we are, and not all of them, but a few. And I see a team right now that is really, you know, kind of having that mindset of, you know, when it gets a little bit hectic, when things get really close, when opponents stopping what you're trying to do, that little thing that inside their head that says, all right, I like this. I like being on the road playing in front of a tough crowd. I like it when, you know, when the other team is really playing well. I'm not sure that we were that type of team earlier. I don't know. I don't know about comparing, but I'm not sure that we could be in a better place going into the tournament. And what I'm seeing out of this, and I'm not sure I could have predicted this 3 weeks ago, that I see a team that, although they've had some success recently, is still very, very hungry and very, very driven. And had you asked me that about a month ago, I might have said this might be a team with some players that would be satisfied once they had some success. So I'm seeing the exact opposite of that right now, which it's been a long journey, and I think we're excited about giving this thing a go.
What do you know about Oregon that you didn't at 10 o'clock last night, and what are the biggest challenges they present you?
When you're preparing for a team, you don't look at their records. What you do look is how is a team progressing over the course of the season. And you see a team they're also playing their best volleyball at the end of the year. They had a chance of sweeping Nebraska earlier. They beat UCLA. They had a chance of they were a point away from going up 2-1 on Washington. This is a legitimate team who's gotten a lot stronger as the season's gone on. But you look to see how a team is progressing through a year, and then you look at, all right, how are you going to match up with this? What do they do that is unique? And their style is and it's not just this year's team. It's Coach Moore's teams over the year. They play a different style than anybody else in the country does, and that's challenges when you don't see them. You haven't seen them. When you're in the same conference, you see them year after year. You kind of know what you're getting into. But they'll run plays where their outside hitters are coming in for quicks. Their outside hitters will pass in front of the setter over in the corner and pass the ball and run to the exact opposite corner and hit a 1-foot slide behind the setter. Nobody does that. So the number of looks that they give you is very different, and it's probably going to take us some time. Forget about our players. It's going to take our coaches sometimes to get our head wrapped around what we're wanting to do with them. How we're going to defend, how we're going to block. Because I know this, the way that we typically block, we're not going to be able to against them. They overload half the court an awful lot, and they'll do it with 3 hitters, and half the court may be the half where the setter is. And they're going to give you a lot of different looks. You know that they're well coached. All 4 the other 3 coaches that are coming here, head coaches, all 3 of them have experience in the regional final or the Final Four. Either as a head coach or an assistant coach, so they're experienced coaches. I don't know. We're still trying to wrap our brain around Oregon right now, but they're an animal.
Coach, this kind of goes to what you answered earlier, but at the beginning of the year, obviously, you kind of had some questions, such a young team. Now that you're at the end of the season, is this team where you thought they could get to? Did they surpass that? Where are they kind of sitting in regards to your expectations?
You sit there and you look at the players that we had and the amount of work they put in the off season, and some of the leaders that we have, some of the talent that we have, and you think, all right, if everything kind of goes a certain way, that this could be a team that can make a run, that can be one of those last team standings at the end of the year. You certainly don't count on that, but I knew that we had a long, long way to go to be that type of team, and I knew that we were going to need to squeeze about every day out of this season to get to that point. We're maybe like a last year's team. We were pretty darn good pretty early, and and then it's trying to find ways to keep getting better. This team has had a different path, and in a lot of ways, a really, really hard path. This was, for a good portion of the season, I wasn't. It was hard to be in the gym. Not for me, but I'm sure it was for our players at times. And they just, I'm really proud of the growth that they've had. I'm proud of they've kind of stuck together. They've allowed themselves to be coachable. They've allowed themselves to be uncomfortable. And that's the only way they've been able to expand their games. And and I'm proud of the leaders that we've had. We've got great leadership on this team. That it's important to them. They're really excited about this opportunity in front of them.
Kelly, I know you're not a football coach, but it sounds like Oregon is a team like preparing, preparing for a wishbone team when you're playing in a league with up-tempo offenses or whatever. Is it that unconventional in your mind?
Yeah, it's very unconventional what they're doing. It's like I said, I don't know anybody else in the country that is doing this and of what they're trying to do, and he's had success. I mean, he's a few years ago there in the national championship match had a chance to win it all. It's he's had a lot of success with the style that he is doing. It is you see a team that is getting stronger as it's going through the season, and so that's kind of what it's exciting is that you've got two teams that are going head to head that have gone through the gauntlet themselves. Both teams have played really tough competition. Both teams have gotten a lot better as the season's gone on. They've got a setter that's I'm watching film. I've never seen a setter set as many quicks from sitting on her rear end or even lying on her back. There's one time she's setting a quick when she's literally lying on her back. Who does that? It's but they do it, and they do it very well.
Heading into tournaments across almost all sports, there's something to be said for peaking at the right time. Are you guys peaking at the right time?
I hope we haven't peaked, but I don't think so. We're going to try to shorten up our practices a little bit, coming into the tournament. But I don't know. I mean, Purdue might have been the strongest match that we played this year, and we probably could have said that a week earlier and maybe a week before that. And so I think what we're starting to get is more than just one or two people on their game. Where we're starting to be, there's quite a few people that are playing well every night. And the other thing I'm seeing is that our good stretches are a lot longer than what they were in the middle part of the season. We're playing a lot cleaner, and when when our opponents are getting on runs, those runs aren't 6, 7, 8 points. Those seem to be 3 or 4 points.
Is there one thing you can pinpoint to in this 12-game win streak that you're like, yeah, this is what kick-started this team?
I think our ball control has certainly got a lot better. I really like where our passers are, the jump that they've made, especially probably in the last 8 matches. I think defensively we're just playing so much harder. It's kind of Badger ball defense, where the first part it was a little bit more Olay defense. We're just we're taking pride in keeping the ball off the floor. We're taking pride that our opponents aren't acing us. And so much of that is just, I would say, a mentality of just you're not going to get the easy stuff against us.
Back to tournament structure a little bit. You're in a region where the top seed in it would be playing at home if they get that far, and whoever gets there with them will have to play in there. And it sounds like the NCAA is moving towards that model going forward, where high seeds stay home for regionals. Do you like that? Do you prefer neutral sites? Is it a disadvantage for the other 3 who end up there, assuming Texas is still involved, to have to play there? What's your thought on fairness versus atmosphere of a home crowd for top seeds?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea if we're one of the top 4 seeds. Last year you had, we're playing the regional final, and we're playing, 1,000 miles away from here, close to it, in front of about 1,200 fans. And it shouldn't be that. You know, it's it, it, this. I would much rather go on the road and place in somebody else's place, and that place is packed and rabid, than I would going somewhere where the place is indifferent and silent. You know, we play in front of opposing big crowds on the road all the time, and that's just, it's way more enjoyable to do that than to go somewhere where you're in a big arena. It's pretty quiet, and so I think it puts even more emphasis on the regular season, certainly. I think it puts even more emphasis on how you're going to schedule. You know, the RPI is, you know, the committee spends a lot of time of how you're going to seed, which, by the way, I think they did a really good job of seeding this year, it seems. But they take that seriously, and the RPI is a very important tool, and so just more of an emphasis on being one of those top 4 seeds. You get the opportunity of hosting possibly all the way to the Final Four. That's a pretty big deal. I think it makes the game more exciting. Does it make it give more of an advantage to certain programs? Certainly, and you know, but the way that we would look at it, if we're not one of those programs, is get better. You know, get better so we have that opportunity to do that.
Anything else for Coach?
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Kelly.